and welcome back to part 2 of Tomb Raider 2013, where today we'll be trying to find some food and survive a little here, because we might have survived the freezing cold storm for one night, but we haven't had anything to eat or drink since. And I say this knowing damn well that this is the only time the game makes a mention of this. You don't, for any reason after we do this section, have to hunt for food or water ever again. It's literally just here to fit into the gimmick of quote-unquote survival. Because the only reason you're going to be killing any animals throughout this game is just for their resources to use in making other stuff later on, or for the free experience.
I can do this.
Because it's kind of hilarious how easily you can grind up experience points in this game. And I'll deliberately be trying not to over-level too much as we grab our bow here, which is which is easy enough to do. You just got to flick forward when it's close enough to you and Lara will grab it. Like that. Ow. And we get our first weapon, because in 2013 it was a stupendously big trend, and it was, well, to say that it was a trend that was carrying on for a couple years, that every game character had to suddenly get a bow. And I remember, because the year this game came out was the same year I played Crysis 3, and I literally went from one game that had a bow to another game that had a bow, and I was like, for goodness sake. But our first objective is to actually hunt that deer we saw when we walked into this area. And there's some extra arrows over here, and hopefully I won't be too bad. It's been a while, and I said I prefer the later games because they get the gameplay better in the sequels. But in this one, the gameplay's a bit clunky and shaky, and so getting this deer, this can't be a pain in the ass. Like, in fact, I know it's going to be a pain in the ass. It always is every time I come back to this game, because you got to get a feel for it first, as I've just gone completely the wrong way. I literally just went straight back the way I came. If you tap L1 or LB if you're on Xbox, which to be honest is probably what you're more likely playing this on, because it came out on the 360 first. But if you hit LB, you'll go in this like black and white mode, the survival instinct, and essentially everything that has colour is something of interest. Everything that's black and white is stuff that isn't. So if it's red, there's an enemy. If it's yellow, it's an animal or a resource. Well, yellow just means resource in any way, shape or form, as I missed my first shot. If you tap R3 or just push the right stick in, you can zoom in as well, and that's another thing that becomes more handy in the later games where they have the more precise and better aiming. Whilst in this one, where it's just that little bit shakier and more finicky, it's not so fun. The first upgrade I heavily recommend you should get for the bow when we get to upgrades is the sturdiness. Anything to do with sturdiness so your aiming is easier, go for it. Oh, come on, we got him now. Shit. I've also got to readjusted it. Oh, fuck me. Alright, that's it. I'm killing every deer I come across. There we go. Christ, that was a mission. So yeah, anytime a stability based option comes up for upgrades for the boat, get it immediately. I know it might be tempting to go for more damage or faster pulling speed and things like that, but the stability, no, you want to be able to actually hit your target more often than not, so adjust to it now. I'm probably going to be very rusty for a good few parts yet, because like I said, it's been so long since I played the original reboot. I usually go back to Rise or Shadow where the gameplay's just better. I would say more so Shadow, but Shadow's still relatively recent, so I just haven't gone back to it for that reason alone. Whilst Rise has had more years of being out and being a thing that I've had time being with it, kind of thing. But after your first hunt, we need to return back to camp. And this is a nice test. There's a part of me that kind of wishes the objective marker wasn't there, because like, as Roth, you're going to hear like Roth's things to tell you. It says find a way back using your own navigation. Survival instinct kind of undercuts that a little bit. Oh, you get to escape this time, dear. I'm out of arrows. But I felt like if they just went, okay, find your own way, and if you don't find it for a while, then it comes up with an objective, it'd be better. Because I think that would be a cool way of teaching you to learn your surroundings. Because all you got to do is pay attention to the fact that when you entered this area, you was at the top of a stream. So when you go down the stream, once you finish, you just need to follow it back up. So it is easy enough to remember and find your way forward. And believe it or not, the sequels do actually thankfully do more with that. The objective marker is still always there, but they let you kind of explore at your own pace and get like your own mental map building. Because that is another thing, like this game, something that unfortunately hurts it a little bit as well, is that this game, although it's open to explore, the actual path through the story is extremely linear. Eventually we'll get the ability to quick travel between camp points, and you'll see what I mean. It's like a straight line for all of it. Every area is A to B. But we got a cutscene because we finally got a signal.
On an island inside the Dragon's Triangle.
Ross,
Lara,
you're alive.
easy, easy. Are you okay? What happened?
I remember the beach. And then it went black and I woke up in a cave. There was this crazy man, Ross, and a dead body.
Oh, God. Where are you now, Lara? Are you safe?
It was so horrible. It's all my fault. This is all my fault.
Lara, listen to me. I sent an SOS from the Endurance before I abandoned her. Hopefully someone caught it. I've spoken to the others. We're regrouping at my location.
Please come and get me.
I have to stay here. You can do this, Lara. Remember when we climbed Snowdon? You said the key was knowing that all you've got to do is just keep moving. Remember everything I've taught you, Lara. You're ready for this. And keep your radio on.
Okay.
As you might have noticed by now, Roth is not only the captain of the Endurance, but he's essentially Lara's mentor. Which is an interesting change because in the original and the Legend timeline, Lara was mostly self-taught. Like, there's a few things where she said, like, when she was a kid she went on expeditions with her father before he died.
Is someone
But
there?
outside of that, no. She's very much self-taught. So the fact that they instead have Roth be a bit of a mentor character in this is a interesting thing to do it, but it's more believable, to be honest. Some of the things Lara accomplished in the original saga and the Legend trilogy, of her own merit, is a bit like, what the fuck? But anyway, when you've spoken to Roth, this door mysteriously opens that allows you to go through and down into this bunker-like area down here. These old-fashioned, rusted pipe ladders. Which, as someone who's actually tried to climb one of those things, they're harder than they look. You might be really familiar and used to how up the ladders we have, but we're spoiled because those sidebars are more helpful than you think. And when you don't have them and they're completely out of option, and they're just these metallic bars that don't have any real good grip on them, like even when they're dry or rustic, they are bitches to climb. Seriously, if you ever get the chance, go to like an exploring area, or go to like a museum that like a more interactive museum, or go to like a bunker stuff or anything. There must be something in your area if you look hard enough. Like where I live, there's a whole bunch of little things you can go to, but they're a nightmare to actually climb. Anyway, this game has a different version of how it handles relics. In previous games, relics were just something you ran up to, interacted with, and it unlocks you an absolute shit ton of awesome things to use, either do in missions or take back the Croft Manor. Because Croft Manor was a really fun thing that was in every single game that 2 out of 3 games in the reboot forgot to include. In fact, I think the only reason Rise added it is because originally it was a timed exclusive, so I think as a bit of an apology to everyone they pissed off, they added it when they released it to everything else. Whilst in this, relics just really get you experience and a bit of trivia, which I suppose it's better in the sense of the trivia can add more to the world you're in, but I miss just unlocking shit to do. I don't care if it's archaic or old school, it was fun. Unlocking these stupid costumes and then going back through the game with it, or unlocking character bios in the main menu and learning random trivia that isn't important to that character at all but there anyway, or even getting a cutscene viewer was one of the things in it, or getting more stuff to unlocking Croft Manor, like little statues and things like that. I miss that stuff. Yet another reason why if the Legend trilogy ever gets remastered on PS4, I'll absolutely jump on it. Or, alternatively, if I can figure out how to more smoothly and confidently record off the Xbox One. Because right now, everything I try and do on the Xbox One comes out at like 20 frames per second. And although I can imagine not everyone would be that fussed to buy it, it bugs me enough that I don't want to do it. I can manage 30 frames, because 30 frames is kind of standard across all the platforms, but like 20 to sometimes even 15, no. But we've got another cutscene, and we're going to be introduced to someone who is definitely not the main villain.
Laura, you made it. Sam. Thank goodness.
Surprise. It's okay. He's one of us.
Sorry if I startled you. This place would make anyone a little jumpy. And we just spoke to your crew. They're on their way.
Look, he bandaged my foot.
Oh, it was the least I could do. My manners. I'm sorry, I'm Matthias. A teacher by trade. Not really cut out for island life, I'm afraid.
Sweetie, you look exhausted. Sit down.
Yeah.
Sam here was just telling me about the Sun Queen.
Right, Himiko.
Can you tell me more? I'm intrigued.
Well, believe it or not, a couple thousand years ago, Queen Himiko pretty much ran things in Japan.
She loves telling this story.
Himiko was beautiful, enigmatic, but also ruthless and powerful. Legend says she had shamanistic powers.
And this is where she loses me.
Well, there's always some truth to myths.
She commanded an army of samurai warriors, her magnificent storm guard. They rode the very winds into battle, laying waste to all who opposed them. They say the sun rose at Himiko's command, and she ruled everything its rays touched, from the mountains to the sea and beyond.
But what happened to her?
Sam? Matthias? Sam! Sam! Shit! No! Sam!
Yeah, sorry if I spoiled something for you if you haven't actually played this game before, but there is like no subtlety. The very first second I saw Matthias is like he's the main villain. But this section, you're surrounded by wolves, but what's interesting is that when you first play it, you'd believe you don't have to do it, but if you pay attention and shoot into it, you can sometimes catch some of the wolves. There's 5 wolves and all 5 of them have to die to get out of here. But like I said, when you first play through it, you'd think you just have to wait until they charge you and then shoot them, but you don't. If you pay attention to the grass and just precisely pick your shots like that, you can catch them. Alright, let's see if I can catch that last one before he jumps at me. You're like there-ish, aren't you? You're to my right, you're over here somewhere, I think. Whereas when everything's shaking. Yeah, you are to my right. Well, you're dead anyway, and that's it. There's only 5 of them. And so we got 2 of them in the bush before they could even jump at us.
Let go.
It's good to see you, little bird.
I'm so glad you're here. Is Sam with you?
She was with you.
She was here with that man, Matthias. But I passed out. When I woke up, they were both gone.
You girls shouldn't go wandering off.
We need to find them.
Wait. What about Raw?
Okay, let's split up. One of us go with Laura and meet up with Roth. The rest of us should fan out and look for Sam.
I'll go with her.
No. Let me. You know how to use one of these? It's been a while. It's all coming back to me.
Get to Roth. We'll find Sam and this Matthias guy.
You gonna be okay?
Yes, I probably just need to rest for a few minutes.
You sit here. I'll check up ahead.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it for cutscenes in this part, because what I really want to do now is explore this area we're in, because it's a nice open circular area that has a secret optional tomb in it, Which, like I said, the hidden tombs is an entirely optional thing where these secret optional challenges you can find around that unlocks you extra little trinkets. But it's in this game, they're kind of pathetic. Actually, they're not kinda, they're completely pathetic. They're not tombs at all. They're literal optional little challenges, one puzzle, and then they call it a night. And it's a shame because this is Tomb Raider. The tombs should be a hell of a lot more than they are, but they're just not. Also, I'll probably be constantly talking over them, but every single time we get something where it's like a document entry and you hear it all out, I'll leave it all in so you can read it, but I'll continue talking over the voice for it because they're literally just reading it for you. But you can read, and you'll probably read it far quicker than they say it because they talk incredibly slow. And it also introduces to the idea of this torch that you have isn't just something you have to find. Lara just has a torch strapped to her that you can light at any time if you find fire to it. Oddly enough, and this applies to the whole trilogy, and I get it's probably for balancing to an extent, but you can't use campfires to light your torch, and I think that's ridiculous. We also did pick up a pickaxe, but the pickaxe we start with is kind of pathetic, so don't expect to be able to do anything with it. We're going to be getting like 2 upgrades in 2 parts, I think it will feel like. Oh, and you are supposed to follow Whitman, but I haven't got any arrows, so I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this encounter coming up, because 2 wolves are going to attack us. There's one. Ow. And one of the things I think was very rightly complained about in the reboot, and was something that they addressed in the sequels, is that for something that's about, you know, a survivor, Lara has regenerative health in this game. If you just stay out of the way, you'll regenerate any and all injuries off, and it just felt wrong. Even outside the whole survivor aspect, it still just felt wrong because Lara had never done it. And so the fact that starting with Rise, they address it by making it so your health will regenerate out of critical, but it won't regenerate any further, was a brilliant idea. And it's only if you play on easy it goes back to this game's regenerate everything approach, which when I eventually get to Rise and Shadow, because it'll happen, the main reason I'm tackling this Let's Play is so I can justify tackling Rise and Shadow later on. I will probably be playing them on their hardest difficulties. But I say that on Rise there's 2 versions of the hardest difficulty. There's the hardest but you've still got like checkpoints, and then there's the hardest but you can only manual save. And because that's literally the only difference, I'll just do it with checkpoints because it's just not worth it. Also, there's diary and document entries of Whitman, you know, the guy that we just spoke to, because we need to upgrade our axe before we can open that door. And you know how I was saying last part, how they don't even try to make you think of Whitman any different other than absolute arsewipe? Well, read this for yourself. He's essentially chasing success so much that he's pretending Lara is his own successor, because he's so proclaimed so successful, and this will be the big thing that will make him super successful and famous, so his wife won't leave him.
The show will be huge. If you want to
But
leave me then,
yeah,
I promise
I hate to break it to you, Whitman, but
just wait on it.
he's such a self-serving dick. I can imagine the reason why his wife wants to leave him isn't because he's not getting any money in. I can imagine it's more so because he's just an arse and he refuses to look at the bigger picture of anything that isn't just himself, because that would burn down on anyone. Oh, arrows, thank God. But either way, our objective is to collect salvage, and salvage is essentially your weapon experience. Every time you break down anything or loot a corpse or just a whole host of things, you can get upgrades that make it so you get even more for different ways later on. But just like breaking shit and looting corpses, you'll get salvage that can be used to upgrade your weaponry.
We weren't the first, and I know we're not alone. Something.
And I'm going to let this play out. I'm going to let these play out as well, more so you can read the subtitles. But at 10 specific points throughout the plot, when you sit down at a camp, Lara will monologue. Well, as you can see there, 1 of 10. But it's designated by campsite, not by plot progression. And what I mean by this is, if an event happens, but then another event happens, if you go to the campsite that was between those 2 events, you'll talk about the first one, kind of thing. And it's essentially built that way so you can still get 10 out of 10 even if you miss a few. But the wolves, 1 fully charged headshot or 2 body shots will kill them. What the? Can I not? Is he stuck in the tree? Can I not get? He fucking is stuck in the tree as well. God damn it! That's experience I just had stolen from me. Well, let's look around for salvage, and we'll do that optional tomb before we go. I'll kill his rabbit just to make up for it, because it'll give me a little bit of experience. There we go. So that's really the only reason you're killing animals in this game. You get experience for looting them. But there's another secret over here as well.
Japanese no actors could
And I should have mentioned it really with the previous relic, but any relic that has like a little magnifying glass icon underneath the description means there's more to it than meets the eye. And if you spin it around and investigate it, you can find out a detail about it that'll give you more information. Like, say you find an old musket, but like the inside is clean. It's like, oh, so this musket was never used, sort of thing. Like, you can find all sorts of little details about it. These weird, like, goddess statues, you'll find them everywhere, but because they don't want Lara to talk about it yet, this one's broken. And I swear that's like the only reason.
Right, that should do it.
But once you get enough, you'll get a whole bunch of experience to kind of highlight it is. But don't stop there. Clean out the whole area and get as much salvage as you can. Don't just say, oh, I've got enough for the objective and move on, because you never know when you're going to need it later on. Especially because the bow's not the only weapon we're going to get in the game to upgrade, and the axe isn't the only thing we're going to get to upgrade. Well, I think the axe's only upgrade is the one we're going to get because it's tutorializing you. Everything else is on the weapons.
This is his job, right? It's not like he's offering anything to the actual research part of this expedition. Once we find Yamatai and
This one makes me laugh because literally everyone hates Whitman, but Whitman's so arrogant he just doesn't see it.
But he knows how to work a scene. I just need to do my job and keep my.
And don't worry, he gets worse. I feel like that's going to be a running gag for a lot of this, but he will continue to just get worse. Like literally every time he's in a scene, he will say something or do something or just fail to do something that will make you go, for God's sake, Whitman. Like, I'm glad Whitman, spoilers, is only in this game. Like, of the group that is in this game, the only one who continues to be around is Jonah, which is why I'll give Jonah more time, because he's actually around in the sequels. Everyone else, for different reasons we'll get to as and when, just decide that they don't want to chase Lara along on her crazy adventures. They'd rather, you know, step down and step away. But either way, we're supposed to go up here and upgrade our axe, so then afterwards I'm going to head off to go find the tomb. Because I know it was in this area somewhere, I just need to actually fucking find it. I was hoping we'd run past it before we get here, but I haven't spotted it. But either way, it's going to ask us to upgrade our pry axe to make it stronger so it can handle the grip of the handle. But be careful if you are going to start looking for the tomb after you built it, because a cutscene will initiate pretty quickly after you get near Whitman, so kind of swerve him. Which I know you should recommend anyway, but you should probably swerve him. But also, whilst we're going this way, I can go back to the previous camp. Well, I say previous camp, the rest point that we was at beforehand, to open that box that was there, because there was another box there. Oh, there are more wolves. Ow. There's your one. There's your two. And another upgrade worth getting, and it's actually a Lara upgrade, so you have to get it for experience. And it was the very first one you saw me get, is you can make it so you can retrieve your arrows when you like scavenge an enemy, whether it be animal or human. Like once you kill them and loot their bodies or scavenge the animal, you can make it so you'll get your arrows back, and that is such a lifesaver for resource later on. As long as you keep on hitting your target, even if you hit them in the ankle 20 times, you can get all 20 of your arrows back. But oh yeah, you can kind of see here what I mean now. Like, it's a kind of a linear path. Like, we're going from A to B, it's just the spaces are kind of wide. And the sequels, thankfully, they still do it to an extent, but they get a lot better with it. Also, oddly enough, this one doesn't have an indicator until you go to open it. You just have to know you can mash square on it. Right, now about that finding that goddamn tomb. I know it's here somewhere. Oh, I can see it now, I can see it. It's to our right, just over this bridge here. you always have these white chisels around it that highlight a tomb's there, and that applies to like the whole reboot trilogy. There's these little indicators that when you pick up on, you make it so you know a tomb's there. I'll try to do all the tombs, but I'm only playing this off memory and I'm playing it live, so if I go past one, we'll see. Like, if it gets to a point where it's convenient for us to quick travel back and like get to them and get them done, then I will, but if not, I'm not going to make a fuss about it.
Maybe I can convince Lara to...
Because as you're going to see once we finish reading this and go forward, they're not that great. Like, it's probably the thing that I'm most cynical about in this first game in the reboot, is that the tombs are not tombs at all. And I'm going to remain on that thing because the original Lara Croft, the Legend trilogy, and even the games after this all do tombs far better. And I know that she's more of a survivor and they're pushing away from Tomb Raider, but the series is called goddamn Tomb Raider. If you're going to make tombs optional, make them mean something anyway. Also, we just passed by a giant load screen. Between optional tombs is always a slow walking section where they make you light a torch and then wait, sort of thing. Like, you only go at a walking speed, and they always force you to light the torch to make Lara walk, just to delay more time. And it will do it again when we go to leave. It's just a load screen, it's just hiding loading. But here's the Tomb of the Lost Adventurer. And the entire puzzle here is, this crashed plane, we need to break down the trees that it's attached to, so it will adjust its position. As it will highlight right here. And we need to adjust its position enough that that little pagoda, I think, in the background there, we can jump to that higher ledge, because that's where the chest is, and then that's it. This isn't a tomb, it's a crash plane. See what I mean? Like, it's not some fancy chasm with secret treasures, it's not a madhouse with optional enemies, it's nothing like that, it's just, here you go. Be careful with these lanterns though, because rather frustratingly, you can't jump or do anything special with them. For some reason, if you jump whilst holding them, Lara will let it go. But we're going to let this break so we think it can move around again.
There's got to be a way to raise it up higher.
And you'll think, hang on a minute, but we're breaking down trees, how's it going to raise it higher? Well, there's one tree we're specifically not breaking that too much of the plane is leaning on, because then it will snap through, which will cause that bit to like spike up because it will balance out. Like, the science they use to justify this is kind of bullshit, but for the sake of the argument, here it is. Oh, right, you gotta break the lantern first. Because then it'll weaken the wood. There we are. And now, when we jump on it, because the tip of the log's on fire anyway, we can swing it over into that third cloth. Boom. And apparently just this ever so slight tap is enough to set the whole thing on fire. Sort of like how in the first part, we were swinging ourselves free right at the start, and one slight catch to the fire was enough to set everything on fire. But now we need to do one more, and this is the one that most people usually get stuck on, and I need to take a second to actually remember where it is, because like I said, it's been a while. So if you try and go up here now, this isn't high enough for you to reach that, it's just not. You need to make this lean up higher. And ironically, to do that, we need to break another tree, which I think is over in this section. Let me have a look at this. Oh, is it that lantern above us? I don't know why there's metal boxes here, but I think it's that lantern. Oh, I just got a dip in my recording. Oh, maybe that wasn't bad. But either way, you shoot that. Hopefully there wasn't any like jarring jumps or cuts, but I'll have to have a look in the processing. But there was an absolute dip in my recording there. Ugh. Hope that's not a sign. But when this breaks, it conveniently breaks in the perfect way for you to get up. The only thing we need to do now is get inside the back of the plane, because it's kind of covered up. And I'm not sure if this is the way you're supposed to do it, but the way I do it is going back over to the lanterns here and just positioning a good throw. Like, you could probably do something like with lining up an arrow with the fire in the tree or some shit, but I don't know. I've just always kind of leaned on the very edge here As you say, if you jump, she just drops it. So you can't actually jump to the plane. You just try and position it so it will catch it, and then there you go. But don't hold me to it. I don't think that's the way they expect you to do it. It doesn't feel right. It feels too out of the way. I think you're supposed to find a different way of doing it, but it's just how I've always done it. But then from there, you just got to climb up the very conveniently placed wreckage to get to the top. And then there's your reward. And in the reboot Tomb Raider, they're extremely underwhelming with how they handle it. In the sequels, they do a much better of actually giving you, you know, a reward. But in this one, you essentially just get experience. See? We just got experience points for it. It's a little disappointing in comparison. Like, I've never been keen on it. Like in Rise and Shadow, they make it so you get upgrades to your weapon and equipment, or parts of an upgrade for your weapons and equipment every time you do it, and that's just so much better because it's actually a physical reward you get straight away. You can feel the benefit of it immediately as we walk back through this load screen, painfully slowly. Like I said, this game is very detailed, but it has a lot of hidden load screens to make up for it. Because originally it was a 360 and PS3 game. But that's pretty much it for this part. That's gone on a bit longer than I expected it to. Because I knew I wanted to get this tomb done, but I didn't realise getting to it was going to take as long as it did. But I'm glad I got it done so we could actually, you know, let the gameplay talk for itself for a little while. Because I feel like we've barely had any. And so being able to just do a little optional thing and just go on our way is much more enjoyable. Because it is something I will critique as well in this game. It's a little too cutscene heavy. This kind of applies to the whole trilogy, but the sequel games get better with just letting you get on with the gameplay, whilst this one enjoys interrupting that too much. And not just with like fancy high budget cutscenes, which, hang on, what was that? Is that another collectible? Yeah, just shoot it. Yeah. But not just because of cutscenes, but because of like walk and talk sections and things like that. Like this game does it a lot. Any excuse it can find to take control away from you, it will take it, and it's kind of painful. But that being said, I'm going to go back to the campsite, since it always activates an autosave when you enter a camp and when you leave a camp. We're going to choose an upgrade. I'm going to go for a hunter upgrade, and I'm going to go for more ammo or steady shot. I'm probably going to go steady shot because you know, better gameplay. I mean, might have enough scavenge to upgrade something. Yeah, I can reinforce the limbs, which I'll do that, so it makes it easier. You can pull the string for longer. But either way, next time on Tomb Raider, we're going to help Whitman with that door. But until then, you guys take care now.